Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of the SomerKnits podcast. This is my little corner of the internet where I share about my knitting and the things I have in progress, the things I've finished, the things that I really want to do, just anything and everything knitting and fiber related. I have a helper today who doesn't seem to want to let me podcast alone, so you're going to see some little ear wiggles and snuffles occasionally. Please forgive any tiny doggy noises. Thank you for joining me here today. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. And if this is your first time here, then welcome. I really hope you enjoy your time. And I guess I should just jump right into it. I almost always forget to say I'm coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that is kind of in the middle southern-ish part of the United States. It's often considered the Midwest. So, and I have 2 kids, 2 dogs, some chickens, and my husband here also. So sometimes podcasting gets erratic between all the goings on. So first thing I have today is a finished object that's been a long time coming. I showed it as a work in progress in, I believe, my very first episode, and then it sat for a long time because I was very worried about not having enough yarn. So I did not use the recommended yarn. This is the Easy Eyelet Cardigan by Knititude. And I used some stash yarn that I've had since like 2007. It was Nashua Handknits Cilantro, which is a cotton acrylic blend. And I had a full bag of it, 10 skeins. And I don't remember what I planned to do with it when I bought it. I bought it years ago when I lived in California, before husband, before kids, before moving back to Oklahoma, all of that. And I'm sure that I had something in mind when I bought it. Bright blue is one of my favorite colors. It's reading kind of dark on the screen, but it is actually a lighter, brighter blue. And I'm sure I had planned something. And then over time had just completely forgotten what that was. And I came across this pattern, and there was actually a KAL starting, and I didn't finish in time for the KAL, but it called for an Aran weight yarn, and this being an Aran weight cotton acrylic, there's not a lot of summer tops that I would want to do in Aran weight, and there's not a lot of winter tops that you would want to do in a cotton blend. So I had kind of just been sitting on this yarn forever, and the stash along that's being hosted by Knitting Traditions had inspired me to kind of go back through my stash. And the last few years I've been trying to knit more from my stash, and I'm not always that good at resisting acquisitions, but still going through my stash and using things that I have. So I had chosen the pattern, chosen the yarn, and gotten started, and I had enough yardage according to the pattern, but it just felt like the yoke ate up so much yardage. I was just really afraid of running out. So I put the body on hold and did the sleeves because I wanted to make sure that I had full-length sleeves. And for me, I didn't want them to go down over my hands. I wear cardigans a lot to work, and I type a lot at work, and I don't like things falling in the way. So I wanted them to be just exactly wrist length on me. And so I did the sleeves, and then I went back to the body and went until I was pretty sure that all I had left was enough for the bottom ribbing and the button band. And I mean, it's a fake button band, there's no buttons. Collar ribbing, I guess we could say, but I did cut it really close, and the cardigan is probably an inch or 2 shorter than the pattern calls for, but since I'm only 5'1" and I'm really short-waisted, that really works for me. I'm not sure that I have enough room to stand up and show you, I'll try, the full length, but I'll definitely post some pictures. I took some photos right after it came off the blocking mats, and I did still block it. I feel like even with cotton, blocking just really helps settle the stitches and give it a more finished look, and it definitely evened out the rib and made the collar lay nicer. So I'm very glad that I blocked it, but it did take a while to dry because it's been very humid here, but also it's a heavy cotton acrylic yarn, so it just took a long time to dry. But I'm very pleased with it. It's for me, it is past waist length, so it goes down over my hips. And like I said, I'll add some pictures, but I think that the original pattern calls for it to be slightly looser, slightly more oversized, but it came out perfect for my needs, and I really do love it. I think I want to do the easy eyelet yoke pullover also because I just really like the classic simple look of the eyelet design. I'm drawn to, I don't know, just very classic looks in a lot of things with just a little bit of fun to them. So I really like how the eyelets come out, and it's super simple, and I think that the actual pullover will knit up really fast because there won't be all that purling, because this is not a steeked cardigan. This is knit flat, so you do go back and forth. So you are purling the whole way back across the sweater, which can be a lot of purling if you do not love purling. But anyway, so that is my first finished object, and I am going to take it off because it has gotten really hot here. I had intended to start podcasting earlier in the morning while it was still cool. We are having big swing temperature days right now where the morning starts out in the 40s or 50s Fahrenheit, and then the afternoons are in the high to mid 80s, sometimes even the 90s. I know next week we're going to be back up into the high 90s, which will be unpleasant in the afternoon. So if you get dressed in a sweater in the morning, you have serious regrets by midday because it's just too hot for that. But I have another finished object, and if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably already seen it. I was inspired to start an Anchors Junior sweater because This Nanny Knits and Fiberbound were having a knit along, and they're still having it. There's still time. And any Anchors pattern counts. And I had shown this yarn before I took my daughter to the store to buy a birthday present. She saw the yarn, and so I let her get it, and this is her play sweater for this fall. I had made her the Love Note sweater, if you've seen my earlier episodes, last spring, in a really nice merino and kid silk mohair that was hand dyed, and it's just gorgeous, and that's going to be her nicer sweater for this fall season. But her play sweater that can just be thrown in the wash, dried easily. It is just an acrylic yarn. The only thing really invested in it is time, so there's not a lot of money invested in it, but it's something that she loves and can get a lot of wear out of. I don't mind if she wears it to school. I don't mind if she plays outside. It's just going to be something that she can just use over and over and over again. And I did make the 12 to 14 size, or 14 to whatever the larger child size is in that pattern, because she wears a 10-12 right now, and I wanted her to be able to wear it for a few years. So I think she'll get a few years use out of it. So right now it's kind of tunic length. You can see it's fairly long. Like it almost looks like it would fit me, which I can a lot of times wear a youth extra large. So a lot of those kinds of patterns will fit me. They just might be slimmer through the hips than I want. But it's long right now. She could wear it with leggings. And then I think over the next couple of years, it'll shorten a bit. The sleeves are a little long. She has to push them up just a hair. And so hopefully a few years of wear out of this. And the colors are adorable for a tween girl. And she picked them out. So she is absolutely in love. The yarn is Lion Brand Mandala, and the colorway is Liger. And to get the sleeves to match, we actually had 2 balls of it. There's quite a lot of yardage in this yarn. And I pulled them out until I found where the dark pink started. And then I worked my way backwards, actually, so that I knew exactly where to start each one to get them exactly the same. So there's like 2 rounds of the... It's hard to tell. Oh yeah, you can kind of see it on screen. 2 rounds of the super light pink fading into the light pink, fading into this darker mauve-y color, and then you can see the line where it fades just slightly darker still. And so I had put the body on hold when I reached that point in one of the balls, and then I went back to it so you can see the progression of the additional mauves into the purple, and then the darker purple, and then into the blue. So really pretty, a lot of fun. The pattern is super simple and goes really quickly. And I've been knitting, these 2 finished objects were on slightly larger needles, but I've been knitting so many things on teeny tiny needles that my hands enjoyed the break of going up to, I think this was on a size 6. This might have even been on a size 9. So that was really nice for me. But anyway, it went really fast, and she's already tried it on, already loves it. So that's my other finished object. And you should check out Fiberbound and This Nanny Knits to hear all about their Anchors Obsessed KAL. And there are a few other KALs going on. I think that there's a generic sweater KAL. I need to look that up again and maybe enter this. But I have posted that for that knit along. Tea break real quick. So, gotta lean over the doggy. I have this mug that my brother gave me when he was living in Taos, New Mexico, and it keeps things super warm. It's really heavy, but it keeps things super warm, and it's handmade, and it's beautiful. I've had an ear infection that was moving itself into a sinus infection until I finally got some medicine for it, and so I'm starting to feel better, but I may sound vaguely terrible. I guess not super terrible, but like deeper maybe than normal. But anyway, so I've been living on hot tea because it just makes everything feel better. And today I have I'm terrible at pronouncing things. Don't listen to me. Anyway, it is by Adagio Teas. I have an entire tea cabinet. It's kind of ridiculous. And my tea stash, while not quite as excessive as my yarn stash, is probably excessive to most people. There's an entire cabinet in our kitchen pretty much devoted to teas. That's not normal, is it? Tell me it's normal. Tell me you have that too. But I have been trying really hard not to buy any new tea until I work my way through what I have. I will say, while I've been not feeling good, my evening tea has mostly been the Yorkshire bedtime tea because it's just so soothing. And I try not to drink caffeine after like 2 in the afternoon. I know this is a total tangent. This is not knitting related. This is tea. That's all right. Anyway, if you are as obsessed with tea as I am, feel free to comment below and let me know what your favorites are. But right now, I'm just sticking with simple classic teas to make me feel somewhat human. So I have a few things in progress, and they are things, except for one, that you have probably seen before. First one is I have been working on my Elfmail. Maybe I didn't show this. Maybe I don't remember. Anyway, I've been working on my Elfmail, and if you remember, I'm having an Elfmail knit along, and I'll put the hashtag right here. And feel free to join in. So I was going to have the knit along open until November 30th, but I may extend it because I have found the yoke of the Elfmail somewhat slow going, and it's not complicated. I just have personally found it slow. I did have to go down a needle size, but I always have to go down a needle size. Like, I must just be a really loose knitter compared to most designers. But I do think it's coming out really beautiful. I am loving how the yarns are interacting. I'm hoping that is focusing for you. So I've been using 360 Dye Studio and Show Me yarns. The Show Me is the gray, and the 360 Dye Studio is the variegated in the background, and it's called Mrs. Peacock. And I showed it before, but it's just a really beautiful colorway. Hopefully I didn't totally just jump there. I stopped and answered the phone because when you have kids at school, you just kind of always answer the phone because you never know if it's going to be about them. But there's lots of greens, purples. It's like very tealy. It's coming out kind of dark on the screen, but it's really beautiful. So I think the sweater is going to be super gorgeous when it's done. It's just that the yoke has taken me a while. Like, I'm still in the first set of raglan increases. I did do the short rows at the back, and I did do them in the main color like the pattern calls for. I didn't bother to do the broken seed stitch for that. But this is such an amazing pattern. I encourage you to give it a try. Don't let my talking about it being slow scare you off, because I think once you really find a rhythm, it speeds up, and I'm thinking that once I can get past the raglan increases and just get moving, that it will really speed up. But anyway, so this is where my Elfmail is. I know that's not a ton of progress, but I am almost ready to really focus on it. I needed to get that anchor sweater finished, and I really wanted to finish my Easy Eyelet Yoke cardigan, because if you remember, I'm also doing a finish along. So if you have something that's been languishing, or you put it in the naughty corner and you're ready to look at it again, please join along my finish along. There are prizes. You can join on Instagram or Ravelry. There is a group for the podcast. So you can post in progress and finished objects either place, and there will be some prize drawings coming up. The finish along goes all the way to December 31st, and then there's going to be something else happening in January that's a cooperative with another podcaster, so you'll just have to wait and see about that one. The other thing I've spent quite a bit of time on, because I've had a lot of Zoom meetings where I was not the one talking, so I was just sitting there, and I could kind of knit below where the camera could see me. So I finally got the main body finished of my Fall in Lace tee, and I just split for the sleeves. And I know since it's on a circular needle, it's very hard to see. And when I say just split, I mean like just split for the sleeves and cast on the extra. So I'm almost to the other side to cast on the additional stitches on this side, and I will be working back and forth on the front until putting in those lace hearts across the front, and then I will be doing the same thing for the back side. And here's what I haven't decided. The pattern only calls for the lace hearts across the front and then the back to be solid. But I don't see why I shouldn't put the lace hearts across the back too. Just because they're really pretty. It's just, you can do 2 or 3 rows of lace hearts, and they just come straight across here, and it makes a boat neck. I think that, I can't remember if you're supposed to seam or do a 3 needle bind off for the shoulders. I would rather do a 3 needle bind off, so even if it calls for a seam, I'll probably just put it on holders and do that 3 needle bind off. But you can do 2 or 3 rows of the lace hearts, and then the back is just the instructions are just to knit it in stockinette stitch and do it solid. But I really think, because the lace hearts are like the truly beautiful part of this pattern, I mean, the yarn's gorgeous and it feels great in hand. But I don't see a reason not to do the hearts across the back as well. And I don't know if it's written that way surely not for bra strap purposes or something, because they're pretty high on the back. Anyway, think I'm going to do it on both sides. So that's what I'm going with. I think so. I don't know. Feel free to tell me what you think. Anyway, I know I've showed this before, but the yarn is the Knit Picks, and now I'm forgetting. Oh, that's right. Shine Sport Weight in the color Reef, and it is 60% Pima cotton and 40% modal. And it is, like I've mentioned before, when you pick it up, sometimes wool feels warm in your hands. This Pima cotton and modal feels cool in your hands when you pick it up, like not cold, but like really cool against your skin. So for those hot, humid afternoons here, I think it's actually going to be really nice. And those transitional days where like the drape of knitwear is really nice, but it's too warm to just be like totally layered up in heavy knits. I think it's just going to be really nice. It just feels so good against the skin. So I'm excited about this piece, and I would like to put a bit of my focus time into this now that I'm past the mindless round and round where it didn't feel like it was getting any bigger for a long time. So now I will have to put a different project in my backpack for those times when I need I can't actually look at it, can't be reading the pattern, just going round and round and round. So I'll have to figure that one out because I'm not there yet on the Elfmail for the going round and round, and I'm past that point on the Fallen Lace Tee. I did go to a music festival over the weekend, and I'll add some pictures at the end. It was the Walnut Valley Music Festival in Winfield, Kansas, and it is a bluegrass and folk festival. And John McCutcheon is my favorite artist, and he always headlines there. So we've been going the last few years. Last year we couldn't go. COVID, it was virtual, but we were able to stream it on the computer, and that was really nice. And we prefer to go in camp, but this year, just because of the resurgence and everything, we had decided not to go camp, and I thought we weren't going to go at all. And then my husband surprised me by saying, let's just go to the festival for the day. So we made a day trip of it. We drove up there and saw shows all day long. Got there by like 10 in the morning and just music all day, and left about 10 in the evening and drove back home again. And because we had to carry everything we needed with us all day long in backpacks, I needed a small project where I didn't need to read the pattern and it could be mindless. So I did cast on another pair of socks. I know I've got all these unfinished pairs of socks, but they all require paying attention and patterns and things. So I cast on a pair of socks with some yarn that I had already caked up. I just ran and grabbed it out of my craft room. So these are just plain vanilla socks on 9-inch circulars, size 1s, 2.25, I believe. Anyway, so just little 1-inch cuff, and they're going to be shorty socks because I don't really wear full-length socks very often. So I was like, well, why do I need to keep making long socks? So I started myself a pair of shorty socks. To me, they feel kind of fall, but more my vibe of fall and less like super earth tone neutrals. So there's like flecks of dark purple mixed in with all that yellow and orange, and it was actually from a yarn subscription that I had done in 2020, and it was a Harry Potter themed yarn subscription, and I think that this one was called Honeydukes. The purple was a hand dyed by the Violet Valentine, and it was a leftover from when I did the Casa Grande sweater, which I don't think I've worn for the podcast yet because it's been hot, but I will definitely wear it at some point once the weather starts to cool down, because it is a fingering weight sweater with box pleats at the shoulder and the cuff, but lace panels in the sleeves, and it's just really gorgeous. And it's also a fade. Anyway, so I had leftover purple, and so I'm going to do, I think, cuffs, heels, and toes in the purple because I have a lot of it. and then the shorty socks. And I think that I'll even have enough left over to do a full second pair of shorty socks because it's 100-gram skein of yarn. And yes, I know it's a mess, but it was in my backpack that entire day, along with, it's still quite a lot of the purple, so there should be plenty. Yeah, I know, fuzzy little mess. Anyway, so I took that as my festival knitting project, and you can see I didn't get super far because I didn't spend my day focused on how much time I could spend knitting. I really spent my day focused on seeing the music and checking out all the merchants there. There were so many potters and handcrafted things, and it was just gorgeous. I got myself some handcrafted wooden spoons for the kitchen and a number of pieces of pottery. We are total tangent again, I'm sorry, but bear with me. We are in the process of replacing all of our regular everyday dishes with handmade pottery, and they're not all gonna match. So we pick up like one piece here and another piece there, and so it's just gonna be, in the end, this fun, eclectic collection of our adventures through the artisans that we've encountered, and I think that's really fun. And we have a number of pieces that have been made by friends of ours, so I also really enjoy that. Sometimes the kids will be like, oh, that's a Chico bowl, and because our friend Chico made it, like, so it's just really fun to do that. And if anyone is ever interested, I could do a mini episode that's just an exploration of the different handmade items that we have in our cupboard now. I've gotten to the point where I have moved most of the old matchy-matchy dishes up to higher shelves and put the handmade stuff that we really use on a daily basis down where it's reachable. And eventually I'd like to get to the point where I can box up or give away most of those old dishes that I've had since right after college. So they've been with me a long time. A number of them have cracks and things. They're just getting old, but there's nothing wrong with them. It's still stoneware. But someday we'll get to the point where just the whole cabinet is this eclectic, beautiful mix of art. And I think that art that is used every day is as precious or more precious than art that we just look at. And I'm not discounting the importance of visual art that we just look at, like things that you hang on your walls can bring you a lot of joy. But for me, the dishes are a lot like the knitting. It's art, but it's art we use. It's art that incorporates itself into our life. And that's why I only knit for people who will actually use the things I give them. And I make things for my children, even though they will outgrow them quickly. I know that kids grow fast, but it's my art and it's bringing me joy, but it's also bringing them joy. And I just really love that. And I hope that the artisans that we buy dishes from, when we tell them our story of what we're doing, know that they're contributing to the everyday joy and beauty in our household. So that was my tangent about dishes and handmade mugs and things. And I know I don't actually need any more mugs. I don't need any more mugs. I have so many, but there are so many beautiful mugs that I just cannot resist them. And really, who expects me to? It's kind of like the yarn. There's so much beautiful yarn that I cannot resist. And in that vein, I am going to share with you some acquisitions. So I went into a local yarn store. Forgive me while I retrieve some of these things. I went into a local yarn store looking for one skein of yarn, just one. I was actually looking for a black or charcoal gray DK weight merino. And can you believe there was not a single skein of black or charcoal DK weight merino in the entire store? None. And I showed that firefly themed yarn that I had gotten over the summer that I just know needs to be a sweater for my son. And I've picked out a basic raglan pattern, and the top is solid and then the body of it is striped. And I know yardage wise I need just a little bit more yardage in order to get that whole sweater out of it. So I was going to do the stripes. So I'm going to do the top in the firefly themed yarn, and then I wanted to stripe the body in the firefly yarn and a black or a really dark charcoal to go with it. So it'll be subtle but obvious. Does that make sense? I don't know. Anyway, so that's my plan, but they didn't have any. But they did have a big sale, and I got super distracted after not finding the yarn I needed. And I walked out with a whole bunch of Simplicity by Haiku. So it is a merino superwash and acrylic and nylon, but that doesn't bother me too much. I mean, I think every yarn has its place. But it was this yellow color, this butter yellow color, which can be very hard to find. I've been professionally draped a light summer, and I adore light summer yellow. Like, I just adore it. But it can be really hard to find. And so when I saw the color, I was like, I don't care what the blend is. I need it. And so I needed it to the tune of 3, 4, 5, 6 skeins. But each of these skeins is only 107 meters because they're only 50 grams. And they are between a sport and a DK weight. And so I was like, okay, there's only 6. What can I do with this? Because I really wanted it to be a top. So I also got 2 skeins of this really pretty light turquoise. And I think they go really well together. So I have been looking at, there's a pattern. Oh, now I can't recollect the name. I'll try and put it at the bottom. Anyway, it is a striped sweater pattern that you can do short or long sleeve by Along Avec Anna. And because I only have 2 skeins of the turquoise, I was thinking that I would just stripe the yoke with skinny stripes and then solid body. So because I'll probably need every bit of this yardage, I am going to swatch it, like really swatch it and wash it, and calculate so that I know like how many stripes I think I can get out of the light turquoise and the thickness of them. And that way I can do a reasonable yoke depth and then have the rest of the body be the yellow. And it's such a squishy light yarn that I think a short sleeve top is going to be really good because it'll be like a transitional piece. I may not get it done anytime soon, so it may be a transitional piece for next spring, which will be perfect because I think the colors are very springy. But honestly, I would wear this yellow anytime. Anytime. And I love a good minty turquoise, and I think that anyone who's been with me for a while knows that. I think the mint hair color has to have been one of my favorites. My current hair color, another tangent, is not reading well on camera. It's reading very silver, but it's actually lilac. And so there's a lot of blue purple in it. So in the sunlight, it comes across very purpley. But it's got a couple weeks of fade on it already. So it's starting to turn a little more bluish, but on screen it's just coming out kind of a silver color. It could be the warm light in my house. It can be very hard to find places in my house to podcast from that don't have dramatic shadows. You can kind of see a lot of the light in the room I'm in comes from above rather than in front of me. So I still have shadows quite a bit. And I've added artificial lighting, which is then warming all the colors and whatever. Anyway, other acquisitions. I finished off. I feel like I've spent a lot of time bending down in this episode, but that's okay. Sorry for the crinkling. I finished off the 13 Weeks of Summer Advent Calendar. So the last ones are this kind of grapey purple with little black specks, this green and blue variegated, this red and purple that starts strong and goes soft, and this one didn't feel very summery to me, but maybe to somebody. This was the very last one in there. It's a taupey brown and a rusty red, and I don't know if that's a nod towards moving into autumn. But that was the last one. So all together, I have put all of them in this tub so that I could show them all together, because we had the single skein, which is like a peachy with some yellow and some almost a winey color in the burgundy color. I don't know. And then if you remember back in the beginning, we had a whole lot of green and yellow, and then started to get some color. We had some blues, that pinky, that reddy pinky color, and then the end of the calendar right here. So 13 Weeks of Summer Minis by Clark and L. Some of them are really summery to me, and others, I will say the full skein of peachy yellowy color or whatever is not really my color, so I have no idea what I'm going to do with it, but I'm sure I can find something. The minis will either be contrasting bits, or what I really want to do with them is add them to my clump of minis that will be for my habitation throw whenever I get around to doing it. I still really, really want to cast on a habitation throw. So I will try not to put all the yellows and greens like right next to each other. I'm going to hopefully space things out and spread them out to get a nice even color mix. And then I have the Christmas Advent Calendar that my husband gave me last year that was Madeline Tosh, that's also fingering weight, that I could incorporate in there. And I just have a whole basket of minis, and I've used some of the full skeins that came with some of the minis without using the minis. So there's a collection. I know it's not quite enough yardage for an entire habitation throw yet, but it'll get there. I'm sure that I will end up with another countdown calendar of some kind, whether it's from him or one that I've bought or something. So I'm sure my minis will continue to increase. Now, if you're not into acquisitions, that's okay, and I'm grateful you stuck with me so far, but I did that swap where I filmed what I was sending to my swap buddy and posted it. It's been quite a while now. Anyway, I got the box from her quite a while ago, but I just hadn't had an opportunity to really share it with you because my episodes had gotten so long. But I brought it all down with me today, and there is a lot of it, so much so that I couldn't even get it all back into the box it came in order to bring it down. So I put it in a giant grocery bag. It's very silly. But I did not bring down with me the card where she wrote all of her explanations, because I didn't want to be just like staring down at the card the whole time I was talking. So I may not know the names or blends of some of it, but I'm going to share with you that yarn because it's amazing and there's so much. So first, there is this Pan Telespin, which is hand-dyed by refugee women in Norway, and it is 70% buck mohair and 30% Dala sheep, and it is the most unique texture of yarn I have ever felt, and I have no idea right now what I'm going to do with it, but it is just so interesting. Its story is interesting. Its texture is interesting. I am going to say it is like super rustic and probably not next to skin for me because that buck mohair it definitely has a lot of tooth to it. And you can see it's got quite a bit of halo. Maybe you can see there's so much halo around it. Yeah. It's but it's just kind of amazing because if you look closely at it, and I'm not sure how well I can show this, there's so much depth of color in this yarn. Like there's little specks of things and it changes. You can see the reddy color there. It's just kind of amazing. So it's really neat and unique. And I liked the story of how that yarn is made. And it's like speckled almost and also color changing. It's just incredible. So then there was also this Monostel Uruguay, which is 70% baby alpaca, 25% silk, and 5% cashmere. And there was a full skein of it here, which is 439 yards and 50 grams. But then there's like another 100 grams of it here. So there's a lot of it. So this is already balled up. You can see all that color. This color speaks to me more for my son or my husband than it does for me because of the darkness. And my son has like super chocolate brown, like dark eyes, whereas my daughter is slightly paler and blue-eyed like I am. So it's different yarns speak to me differently for the two of them. But that one definitely says that it needs to be for someone that can wear that deeper color. So then there's this next bag. There's many bags, so just bear with me. There's going to be some crinkly, but oh my God. If this reads well enough on screen, I don't know if it will. It is a truly deep royal purple, amazing. It's got a kettle dyed look to it. It is Malabrigo sock, and I love Malabrigo. It is a kettle dyed pure superwash merino wool. The color is, if I can find it, dewberry, and it is just this super purple. I just love it. This is for me. This I'm keeping because it is just gorgeous, and I love a good purple. But also there is this posh yarn, which is purple with some reddy tones in it. So light and dark purples, a little bluish color. It's just kind of, ooh, I love it. And then, and I know she knew this would really speak to me, this is House of a la Mode Lady Midnight. It is the Dreamy DK 4-ply base, 100% merino wool, 250 yards, and it has that beautiful mint background color, and then all these flecks of purple and other kind of like some greens in there. I mean, can you see that amazing color in there? So she just knew that I would adore that mint color with those flecks in it. Just perfect for me. Now, my daughter has already semi-claimed this one, and I don't blame her because it's bright and beautiful. But there is this Romani 100% merino wishbone. Look at that. All that pink and turquoise and red and just everything in here. There's oranges, and you can kind of almost see it better balled up. So this one is all caked up. But look at all that color. So my daughter has already said that, gee, Mom, I really like that. And so it's hard to turn that down. So I've got to figure out the yardage here. It is a merino single, so it's super soft. but also not as durable as like a 4-ply. So I'll have to figure out, maybe hold it with something that's more neutral so the color in this is really at the forefront, or hold it double for something. I'll have to figure that out. But my daughter is in love with this, and how can I say no to her? But it is just gorgeous. So many things I want to make. This just increases all of my knitting list of things I want to do. This is a gorgeous kid silk mohair, which I selfishly would like to use for me. It is by a company whose name I cannot pronounce, but it says it was hand-dyed in Germany. And it does say to alternate skeins, but as it is a single skein, I will not have to worry about that. It could be part of a really beautiful shawl. At least I think it could be. So I adore that. And then this one, look at all of the different colors in that one. This one is called Potluck, and I can totally see why. There's purples, there's pinks, there's reds. So this is another kid silk mohair. It is kid mohair and mulberry silk, and it is 420 meters. Super pretty. And then I have 2 more bags still. It's amazing how much yarn can fit in this package. So there was this hand-dyed skein of superwash merino DK with all of these flecks in it. Can you just imagine the hat that could be made out of this gorgeousness? There's a deep teal on this end, lighter bits with the purples and the pinks on this end. Gorgeous. And then here's a little mini of superwash merino, Dream in Color yarn, little green one. And then a whole bag of stuff that I can either use for socks, or I've considered just adding to the pile for my eventual habitation throw. An entire bag of balls of like leftover bits, shared ends, mini skeins. Look at the rainbow in that one. I think that should definitely be a part of my habitation throw, because it's a small amount, and yeah, it'd be pretty in socks, but I'd get to see it more maybe if it was part of a blanket. And then there's this bright turquoise that's totally me. Speckles. This yellow with all of these speckles of color in it. It's showing a little green on the screen, but it really is more of a yellow. Throwing things. Another rainbow that I think would be a beautiful part of a blanket. This one is a single, so I'm not sure if I would put it in the blanket or if I just want to like save it for color work or use it in something special because it's so soft. But it is a mint with tons of flecks of color in it, and it is gorgeous. And I kind of wish I knew exactly what it was so I could track down more of it. But it's so pretty. And then there is this ball of variegated of pinks and greens and blues and purples. And this darker, brighter rainbow of color. And then this more moody one. This is another single, so super soft. And then these two that are greens and pinks and turquoise. So a whole bag of minis for me to put with my throw stuff or use for heels and toes or whatever strikes my fancy. But I kind of love having those little bits and ends that you can just grab to accent things, you know, like maybe I do a hat that is sock weight and add just like an accent color somewhere. I don't know. But thank you so much, Yael, for all of that yarn. I mean, amazing swap buddy. Oh, and there was candy, but I ate it, or most of it. There were these squishy gummy jelly men. Well, there were men and women in the bag. Some of them had boobs. But they were softer than gummy candy here, and the flavor was amazing. And then there were licorice boats, and I love black licorice, which I realize is a very controversial position, but I really love black licorice, and I made myself only eat a few at a time, but I have worked my way through almost all the candy. I do have a couple of bites left, but kind of hoarding those. So it was a wonderful swap package, excellent experience, and I am currently building a Christmas swap package for another person. I partnered up with somebody in Scotland, and we are doing a Christmas-themed exchange, but because of how slow things have been going across the water, we both are. We are mailing our packages next week, like at the end of September, so that they have time to get where they're going. Because I mailed a package to the UK that I took to the post office on August 6th, and it's not there yet. And today is September 24th. That's ridiculous. So I don't know. I mean, I know that the U.S. Postal Service has had some issues, but I do not know why it took a month for it to go from Tulsa to Chicago. Like, I mailed it August 6th, and September 7th, it finally updated that it was in Chicago. I thought it was just lost. Like, I figured it was gone. So it took that long to get to Chicago, and then it posted that it was through customs processing, which I assume would be outbound customs processing. I don't know. Anyway, and then the next 2 weeks worth of updates were all about it arriving in Chicago. And I'm like, it arrived in Chicago on the 7th. Why does it keep arriving in Chicago? So I haven't checked in the last 2 days, but I'm hoping it is actually flying across the water at least sometime soon, because I feel like it's gotten fairly ridiculous. But I hope that package reaches its destination soon. I have some other packages that really need to go out that will either go this afternoon or potentially early next week. And then I will be shipping that Christmas-themed package hopefully next Wednesday. And I hope it doesn't take 2 months to get where it's going, but that's why we've allowed so much time. I know it's very early to be thinking about Christmas, but I have some ridiculous friends on Facebook who keep posting the countdown of number of days till Christmas, and I don't need that stress in my life. But tell me if you have started your Christmas gift knitting, because I have not started mine yet, and I know that I need to, because if you remember, I talked about wanting to do whole new Christmas stockings for our family. That's not going to happen this year. I mean, this is going to be like a multi-year project. It's going to take me forever to get that done, of course, because I chose like really pretty cable patterns and stuff for all the stockings, but whatever. Anyway, there are a number of things that are on my gift list for this Christmas, and so I just really need to get on it. But feel free to tell me what you're working on as Christmas gifts, or if you've started yet, or if you are one of those people that waits until the last minute. And so with that, I'm going to wrap it up for this time. But don't forget, we've got the Elfmail knit along. We have the finish along going on. You can check out This Nanny Knits and Fiber Bound for that Anchors Obsessed KAL. Oh, and Penrose Knits, the Knitting Pickle, is doing the Strawberry Pickle KAL with her friend. And that is any like 4-ply fingering weight yarn. So if you do the Elfmail knit along, it should qualify for the Strawberry Pickle knit along, because that is the kind of yarn that is called for. So you should check that out if you aren't familiar with Laura of Penrose Knits of the Knitting Pickle. She is super fun to listen to, and I enjoy her podcast quite a lot. So check her out, and hopefully it won't take me as long to get back to recording again. I couldn't seem to get any time alone in the house for the last month, it felt like. But anyway, I'm glad to be back. I am so appreciative that you were here with me today. Please join the conversation below, or join me on Ravelry, or follow me on Instagram, all the things. But thank you for being here. I love and appreciate all of you, and I just really enjoy being part of this community.